Yeah, so you got into wrestling, you're in the business. Tell me about the training process.
For me, it was different. Training for me, I was in radio we were doing I'm trying to get it out of my mouth now. I can't think of what it's, the sheriff's department and the police department were having a benefit football game, flag football. And they wanted something that intermission that fans could watch, in between, during the halftime. Well, they came to the radio station I was working at the time and said, "Hey, how about we do a wrestling match? The radio station versus the fire department." Yeah, okay. So we went out there and we just put some rope around cans. It was not even a real wrestling ring.
Yeah.
But we put on a performance there, and I was one of the guys that got in there. And a promoter was in the stands, and I did not know this. But after we finished, a promoter came down and found me and said, "Hey, you need to come train with us. I think you might have something there." And so I ended up going in and training one time and took a couple of bumps just to see if I can handle the bumps. And that's the worst part. And once they saw I can handle the bumps, they put me in the ring. And when I said they put me in the ring, the next show they had me in the ring. I wasn't even ready. I was scared to death. But they knew something, I guess, because the fans loved me from the second I came out. I don't know why that was. They just took to me. And from that point forward, I had a jetpack on my back, and I was trying to train while I was wrestling, and that was difficult. But most people don't do it that way. Most people, and what you should do is go to a wrestling school, a real wrestling school, go through months of training, learn how to do it properly, not just how to take the bumps and do the moves, but also how to express yourself and be a character and many other things. There's a lot to professional wrestling that people don't realize. Most of it's how to keep your body in shape, how to eat correctly, how to use your time wisely when it comes to let's say podcasts or anything else. There's only so much you can do in a day, so you've really got to juggle stuff around. But you learn all that if you go to a good wrestling school. They'll teach you how to do that. And then once you get in somewhere like WWE, then there's a whole new boot camp. You're still learning when you get there. They're still training there as well.
They've got so many wrestling schools across the country, and like you said, they teach all those lessons and so much more. So just there's a wealth of knowledge that you can take from it. But it's your story is just may not be the most traditional way, but I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I always hate to even talk about that sometimes, because a lot of the guys, they'll be like, "Oh God, he didn't even get really trained." I didn't. And I openly say that I did not get properly trained. I was training in the ring, it was trial by fire. And I've always kind of worked that way. So I guess that was not unusual for me to be, thrown into it that way. Radio was the same way. Even when I got in the radio, I just jumped in with both feet and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And, and it's just a matter of just kind of giving in and saying, you know what, I'm going to give myself to whatever it is I'm doing, and I'm going to give it 100% and see what happens.
And sometimes you got to do that. You got to take a chance.
Yes.
And take risks.
Without taking chances, you don't go forward. And
right.
That's the honest truth. I can tell anybody, and I'll tell my grandbabies this all the time. You've got to take chances. Without taking a chance, you never know. I'm 60 years old, just so people know. I'm 60 years old, and I started in the wrestling business at the age of 38, which is real late. That's really late. I broke my neck over time, just not in one match, but over a period of time. I caused enough damage that I ended up having to get my neck fixed. And so I was out of wrestling for 10 years because of that. But the passion for wrestling was still there. And I wanted to come back, and I did. I came back after 10 years of, after my broken neck, taking care of my father, who had passed away eventually from Alzheimer's. And I took care of him for about 5 years. So when I came back, I was real depressed. I didn't even realize I was depressed. It was my wife who finally kind of said, I'm getting a little bit worried about you because you just don't seem like yourself. And I realized, I got to make a change. And that's when wrestling basically came back and saved my life, because I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to where I was when I was happy. And I remember the last time I was happy was when I was wrestling in the ring. So I made a point of getting myself back in the gym, getting in shape, and having one last match against a guy who I had a major feud with prior to my leaving wrestling. And that did wonders for me. It made me feel 100% again. It helped get rid of that depression. I won't say it's gone completely. I still deal with it on a regular basis. But my wrestling career and my outlook on life is so much better, and it all has to do with wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you found a passion that you love, and it's always been around in one form of another. Wrestling is
Yep.
something I feel like that will always be there for all of us that are fans.
Yes.
But 38 years old, getting trained, uh, what an incredible story that is.
I
Getting to do that.
it's one of those things that as a kid you imagine yourself as a wrestler. If you're a wrestling fan, you imagine yourself as the good guy in the ring, beating up the bad guy, and hearing all the fans cheer. And I got to live that, and that is something I've always said. If the Lord decided to take me today, I'm okay with that. I don't want to go anywhere today, mind you that,
No,
but
no.
I have lived a great life. I've done more in my life through radio and wrestling than I would ever have imagined that I could have done. Got to meet people I never knew I'd get to meet, meeting legends that I never thought I'd even be able to sit down and have dinner with, and it's just something that for me, I am personally very proud of what I've done so far in life. I hear people always say, well, you're never going to make it to the WWE. I'm only 60 years old. I still got another 20 years. Who knows?